Hey everyone, today I have brought for you another very romantic drama. The female lead of the story lives in a small village, and the main lead of this story is a mafia who has been chasing the female lead for the last 10 years. In the story, the male lead's obsession and madness for the female lead is so much that he buys a house in front of the female lead so that he can secretly see her every day. Even that mafia was created so that he would not let anyone come near the female lead. But our female lead does not know anything about this. So let's start the story now. The story starts from a dark and deserted street. Anning, who was on her way home after her night shift. Then he hears someone's voice. She would look back. Before that, someone puts a hand on his mouth. Arning's breathing quickens. She tries to scream, but Fan holds her mouth even tighter and asks her, "Do you know how to apply a bandage?" Ang also realizes that the person behind her is seriously injured, because his injuries were clearly visible on his hands. Then Fanwoo says to Anning, "If you try to be smart, then I will not waste even a minute in ending your game." Hearing this, Anning's breath catches, and she bows her head and answers, "Yes." After some time, we see Anning, a nurse, notice Fangwoo's deep wounds. Despite her fear, she does her work and applies medicine on Fangwoo's wounds, but her hands are trembling. Fangwoo then looks at her strangely, and Anning quickly applies medicine to Fangwoo's wounds. For a while, Anning was completely shocked to see that Fangwoo was completely injured, but he did not even utter a word of pain. Meanwhile, Fangwoo just stares at Anning's drooping, trembling eyelids. Anning finishes her work and gives Fangwoo her coat, saying it will cover your wounds. Then Fangwoo also puts on Anning's coat and slowly starts moving his steps towards Anning. Seeing Fangwoo coming towards her, Anning gets scared again and starts moving back in fear. Then Anning realizes that there is no way back. Seeing this, Anning says to Fangwoo, "I will not tell anything to anyone. Just don't ruin my game. I will pretend that I did not see anything, and I am very true to my word." But Fangwoo suddenly leans forward a little. His face comes so close to Anning's face that his hot breath falls on Anning's lips. There was a strange passion in his eyes, and he said to Anning, "Your face looks quite friendly." After saying this, he tries to come closer to Anning, but then Anning immediately runs away from there. After some time, we see that Fanab also leaves from there and deliberately takes a room in a nearby hotel so that he can keep an eye on Anning. After taking the room, Fanwoo goes to his room and opens his window and looks outside. Then his eyes fall on Anning, who was erasing the evidence of Fanwoo's injuries from there, so that no one would know that Fanwoo had come there. Because Anning feels that if anyone comes to know about Fanwoo, then Fanwoo will ruin her game. She starts erasing all evidence of Wanwoo in the dark out of fear. Meanwhile, Wanwoo smiles at Anning and thinks to himself, "You don't even know what trouble you have got into." Then Wanwoo, looking at Anning's ID card, thinks to himself, "It has been so many years since I have been searching for you. And look at the game of fate. I met you for the first time in this condition." Then we see in flashback that Anning was very sick in her childhood, and Fanwoo was taking care of her because both of them had no one in this world. Then the scene shifts, and the next day we see that as soon as Anning comes to her hospital, a woman says to her, "Do you know that something is lying here last night? You also went home late last night. Did you see anything?" And all this is because of Anning's stalker, that is, the one who was following her, Fanwoo, who was just looking at Anning from the window of his room. After some time, Anning opens the door of her hospital, and Fanwoo's eyes were still fixed on her. He was just looking at Anning without blinking his eyes. Then after some time, we see that Anning is alone in the hospital and is checking up a person. But that old man's intentions regarding Anning are not good. He forcefully grabs Anning's hand and pulls her towards him. Anning tries to get away from him, but despite Anning's many efforts, he does not leave her and says to Anning, "Looking at you, it seems that you will easily doubt me." After hearing this, Anning gets scared, and the person tries to come closer to Anning. he would have been able to reach Anning. Before that, Fanwoo saves Arning by pushing him away from Arning and then punishes him by saying that, "If I see you again, I will finish you off with my own hands." At that moment, Fanwoo's anger was clearly visible on his face, and that person also ran away from there in fear after seeing Fanwoo in front of him. After he leaves, Fanwoo sees that Aang is very nervous. Anning's eyes close in fear. Then suddenly a shadow falls in front of her. Fanwoo, who was standing right in front of her, and she thinks in her mind that, "I do not know what trouble I have got into. Has he come here to end my game?" Arning is thinking about all this. Then Fanwoo says to him, "I need to get my wounds dressed." Arning is completely shocked after hearing this. After some time, we see Aang sitting in front of Fanwoo and applying medicine on his wounds. Meanwhile, Fanwoo's eyes are on Aang. He was constantly looking at her and thinking to himself how beautiful Anning's eyes were. Anning was very cute since childhood, but at this moment, she is looking the most beautiful. Then Aang's eyes also meet Fanwoo's, and she realizes that Fanwoo was constantly watching her. Then Fanwoo applies medicine on his breasts and asks him, "Are you in pain? Thank you for helping me today." Then Fanwoo thinks to himself that she is scared of me because of last night, but still she is not letting that fear show on her face. Aang further asks, "How did you get these injuries?" But Fanwoo, without responding to her words, just stares at her innocent face. Seeing Fanwoo staring at her, Anning gets scared and moves away from him, and Fanwoo asks her, "Did you deposit some money in my court yesterday?" Then Fanwoo responds to Anning's words and tells her that, "When you dressed me yesterday, it was for her." Further, Fanwoo gives more money to Arning and tells him that this is for today. But Arning tries to give him his money back and tells him that it is too much. But Fanwoo comes close to Arning and grabs his hand and forcibly puts all the money into his coat pocket, saying that if these have been given to you, then keep them. Then Fanwoo moves away from Arning and suddenly asks her, "Where do you live?" After hearing this, Anning is completely shocked. Then Fanwoo tells her, "I will drop you off because they might still be waiting for you. That's why it would be better if you come with me." After hearing this, Anning is surprised and says to Fanwoo in a low voice, "I think you are a good person." Then she takes out the money given to her by Fanwoo forcibly from her pocket and tells him to keep it. "You are very badly injured. That's why I can't take this money from you." But then Fanwoo comes close to Anning and holds her hand and leans her against the wall. But then Aang loses her balance and is about to fall. That's why Fanwoo holds Ain's waist and pulls her closer to him. Ain's breathing quickens. Then Fanwoo tells him to remember that there are no good things or good people in this world. That's why remove this misconception from your mind. Then Fanwoo slowly moves towards Ain's feet while caressing her waist with his hands and holds her feet in his hands, saying that if someone troubles you like this next time, only then Aang gets scared. Her fear was clearly visible in her eyes, and she told Fanwoo nervously to let her go. Fanwoo then tells him to shout for help instead of closing his eyes like that. "Did you understand?" Anning shakes her head in denial, and Fanwoo lets go of her feet and walks away telling her, "You're really an idiot. Do not go alone after your shift is over. I will wait for you outside." After saying this, Fanwoo leaves from there. Then the scene shifts and we see it was late at night, and Aang was going home after her shift. Then we see Fanwoo, who was walking right behind Aang without saying anything. At that moment, there was an awkward silence behind the two of them. Aang walks silently, and Fanwoo follows her. Similarly, after some time, Anning reaches near her house, and standing at the door, she tells Fanwoo that, "I have reached home." Then Fanwoo does not respond to Aang's words and starts looking around. Then Anning draws Fanwoo's attention towards herself and asks him, "What is your name?" Then Fanwoo tells Anning that, "I don't have a name." Then Arning says to Fanwoo, "Thank you for today. I am leaving, nameless person." Then Fanwoo tells Anning to go upstairs, and Anning also leaves from there. Then after some time we see that it was about to be morning. Anning opens her window and sees Fanwu standing under her house all night. Seeing Fanwu in front of her, Anning is completely shocked and wonders to herself why Fanwu hasn't left yet. But Fanwu was so worried about Anning that he stayed outside Anning's house the whole night so that no one could harm Anning. Then Fanwu took Anning's ID card and stroked her name with his fingers, thinking, "You are just like a little bunny. I wish I hadn't lost you that day." Then we see in flashback Fanwu was with Angning. He was very young at that moment, and Angning was very sick. Taking advantage of this, some underworld mafias falsely accuse Fangwu and punish him by saying that, "You tried to steal my money." Fangangwu tells him that I did not do anything like that. But Luhan had some other intention, and he threatened Fangwu, saying that now this girl will be punished for your mistake. Anyway, it's sick. That's why its heart will be very useful to me. Meanwhile, Fangwu tells Luhan to let it go to save the courtyard. I will do anything in return for this. After hearing this, Luhan gets an idea in his evil mind, and to take advantage of Fangwu, he tells him that if you finish the game of 49 classmates, then I will let you and this girl go too. Actually, Fangwu and Angning were in another fun age, which Luhan used to run solely for his own benefit. Fangwu, without caring about himself, agrees to all of Luhan's conditions to save Angning. Now the scene comes to the present, and Fangwu thinks in his mind that since that day, I searched for you like crazy, and now that I have found you, I will not let anyone come near you. Then the scene shifts, and in the morning we see Angning coming to her hospital and opening its door, and here Fangwu is secretly watching her as usual. Just then, Fangwu receives a call from Bai, who tells him that his injuries must have healed by now, because tomorrow the Jiang family is going to attack Danju. That's why we have to end this Jiang family's game tonight. So you be ready today in the deserted street near the old bus stand. Then the scene shifts, and we see at night Angning went to an orphanage today. That's why he gets very late in returning home. The road was completely deserted, and Anganging was passing through there. Then a person comes near Anging and angrily threatens him, saying, "Don't move." Angning gets scared and tells the person to keep all the money she has. Just then, Pei Bai and Fangwu also spot Angning, who is there finishing the Liang family's game. Angning is completely shocked to see Fangwu in front of her like this. Then Bai tells Fangwu that this girl can create trouble for us, and Fangwu thinks in his mind that how did Angning reach here? Then Bai moves towards the courtyard. Seeing this, Fangwu stops Bai and tells her to let him handle it. Now you can go from here. After hearing this, he looks at Bai Fangwu and says to him, "So this is your person," and leaves. After Bai leaves, Fangwu walks towards Angning and comes close to her and pushes the goons away from Angning and says, "This is my person." Then, placing the weapon on Angning, he asks her, "Is your coming here so late at night just a coincidence?" Angning trembles with fear because she had unknowingly landed herself in a big trouble. Angning gets scared, and Fangwu tells him that she will not tell anything to anyone. But Fangwu removes Erning's cap from his head and says to him, "I asked you something." Erning had seen it a while ago. Fangwu finished the game for many people in front of him. He was left breathless, but then Fangwu came close to Anging and told Anging to get out of here first. Anging is able to respond to his words. Before that, Fangwu takes Angning's hand, pulls her closer to him, lifts her on his shoulders, and forcibly lifts her in his lap and takes her away from there. Then after some time, we see Anging sitting with Fangwu and applying medicine on his wounds. Fangwu asks her, "What were you doing there so late at night?" At that moment, Fangwu's concern for Angning was clearly visible on his face, and he said to Angning, "Do you know how dangerous it was there? If I hadn't been there, you probably wouldn't have survived." Then Anging tells Fangwu that I never expected to see you there. Anging further says that today I went to another funicular, but Uncle Wan's legs were injured and he couldn't come to pick me up. That's why I was late in coming. Then Fang Wu says that the danger is very high these days. That's why no matter what happens, don't go out at night like this. Then Aing says that you are not a bad person, but why do I always run into you in such situations? After hearing this from Arning, Fan Wu says, how do you know that I am not a bad person? Then Aing says that you saved me twice, so how can you be a bad person? There is a strange yearning and pain reflected in your cold eyes, and this handsome face of yours does not look like that of any bad person. Aing was saying all this without stopping. Then Fan Wu holds Anning's hand and pulls her closer to himself. Then he suddenly kisses Anning, holding her waist with his hands. At that moment, seeing Fan Wu suddenly so close to her, Anning's heart beats faster, and she tries to push Fan Wu away from herself. But Fan Wu tells him that if you push me one more time, my wounds will burst. Arning's hands are on Fan Wu's shoulders, and she tells him, if you do not want me to push you, then let me go. After hearing this, Fan Wu smilingly says to Arning that if I don't let you go, then Arning forcefully moves away from him. But Fan Wu was not at all ready to move away from Arning at that moment. He comes close to Arning and says to him that, do good people approach you without your consent like I do? Arning is unable to respond to his words, and Fan again comes close to Arning and starts kissing her. At that moment, Ain's heartbeat was so fast that it could be heard outside, and she thought in her mind, so is this what it feels like when we kiss? Meanwhile, Fan Wu's hands are on Ain's waist, and he is kissing her without stopping. Even Arning is unable to keep Fan Wu away from herself at that moment. Seeing this, Fan Wu asks her, have you never kissed before today? Arning answers her name. Then Fan Wu says to Arning, if I had not stopped, to what extent would you have allowed me to come close to you? Then Aing speaks to Fan Wu, but you stopped. I know you are stubborn, but you will not hurt me. I had an older brother in my childhood. You are exactly like him. When I first saw you at the clinic, looking at your shadow, I thought it was probably Anshi's shadow. Saying this, Anning's eyes become moist, and she leans her head towards Fan Wu and places it on his shoulder. Then she says to Fan Wu, I sometimes wonder how Anshi would look when she grows up. Fan Wu turns his face towards Anning. Then Aing says that, I think Ansh looks exactly like you. Poor Aingan had no idea that Ansh was sitting in front of her, disguised as Fan Wu, and she further spoke to Fan Wu. And I don't know why I feel strange seeing you. Then Fan Wu asks him, what does this mean to him? Then Aing moves away from Fan Wu a little, looks into his eyes and says, I think I like you. Fan Wu is completely shocked after hearing this. Even the darkest part of him feels defeated by Aing's innocence. He was just thinking about Anning. Then Aing comes close to him and suddenly kisses him. But then Fan Wu realizes. At this time, he is surrounded by enemies from all sides and wants to keep Anning with him. This could put Anning in great danger. He pushes Arning away from himself and angrily asks her, how can you even like a person like me? You can't live with me. Then Anning replies to him stubbornly and says, how do you know if you don't even try? Then poor Fan Wu hides his feelings in front of Anning and tells her that it is quite late. Walk ahead of me and I will drop you home. Then Anning also listens to Fan Wu and starts walking ahead of him and talks to Fan Wu while walking on the way. People there were calling you a black leader. Should I also call you by this name? Fan Wu answers him in the negative. Then Anning turns back to Fan Wu and asks him, so what's your name? Then Fan Wu tells him that it is nothing. After hearing this, Anning's smile disappears from her face, and she starts walking on the road again, feeling sad. Seeing Anning in front of him like this, Fan Wu could not control himself, and he told Anning his name and said to her, my name is Fan Wu. Hearing Fan Wu's name, a different glow appears on Anning's face, and she turns towards Fan Wu with a smile and calls his name. Then Fan Wu tells Anning to pay attention to the path, otherwise she will fall. Then Aing turns back and starts calling Fan Wu's name repeatedly out of joy. Seeing Aang in front of him like this brings a smile on Fanwu's face too. Then the scene shifts, and after some time we see Fanwu coming to Bai. Brother teases Fanwu and asks him, "Was what I saw with my own eyes a while ago true?" Our black leader was carrying a woman on his shoulders towards the forest. Then Fanwu asks her, "How does it feel when you fall in love with someone?" Then, placing his hand on Bai Fanwu's shoulders, he says to him, "If you really love her, then I would advise you to keep her hidden." Then Fanwu tells Bai that I know I can only see her from a distance. The scene then shifts, and a few days later, we see Anning eagerly waiting for Fanwu as she had to get the stitches on her wands removed today. That's why she is eagerly looking towards that path. But he doesn't see anyone far and wide, and here Fanwu is secretly looking at Anning from his window. Fanwu's eyes were always on Aang, but Aang has no idea about this and goes back inside her hospital. After Anning leaves, Fanwu sees the same thug who was trying to harm Anning that day. This time he has come with some people to harm Anning. Here the goon tells his people that as soon as the nurse comes out, we will take her with us. Just wait a little. She will be coming out in a while. But then the goon hears someone's voice from behind him, and he tells him that there is no need for him to wait here. The thug turns around and sees Fanwu standing in front of him. At that moment, Fanwu's anger was clearly visible on his face, and he deliberately lures those goons and takes them far away from Aang. And as soon as they reach a little distance from Aang, Fanwu ends the game for all of them with his own hands. Then the scene shifts. After some time, we see that it is quite late at night, and Anning is going from the hospital to her home through a deserted road. Then she realizes that someone has been following her for a long time, and we see Fanwu following behind Aang silently, just to make sure he doesn't leave Aang alone at night. Unaware of this, Anning is terrified and musters all her courage and turns back abruptly. Fanwu also realizes that Anning is about to see him. That's why he quickly hides by taking support of a wall. Now, as soon as Anning turns back, he does not see anyone in front of him. And here, Fan Dot thinks in his mind, what kind of actions am I doing? The team. Then Anning also starts leaving from there, and as she moves a little forward, she sees Shio in front of her. Anning sees Shu and asks him, "You used to work at East Gate, right?" Tristan, do you know anyone named Fanwu there? After hearing Fanwu's name, Shib's face turns pale with fear, and he asks Horning, "Why are you asking about him? You shouldn't take this name so lightly." Horning then asks him, "What do you mean? Do you know about Fanwu?" Then he tells Shivning that I used to work only as a guard at the East Gate. Gate. How would I know the King of Hell? I have heard that he is a very cruel person. That's why you should stay away from them. He is called the Black Ghost of the Underworld. After hearing this from Shu, a smile appears on Arin's face and she speaks to Shu while laughing. This means I met a ghost. Meanwhile, Fanwu was also secretly listening to their conversation. Then seeing Aang laughing like this in front of him, Shu scares him and says, "You should do something kind. You should stay away from him because he does all kinds of bad things." And after hearing this, Anning wonders to herself, is Fan-He really that scary? Then Shu tells Anning that it is quite late. "Let me drop you home." Then Shu goes behind Anning and says in a low voice, "I can make good money from such a young girl." But then Fanwu pulls him away from Anning and towards the wall. Then after some time we see Fanwu punishing Shu and ending his game, saying that you cannot control your tongue and your luck is so bad that you collided with me today. You have harmed many young people by luring them with your words. And now it's your turn. You should have stayed away from Anning. And anyway, I am not a good person. Priest. Then the scene shifts, and the next day we see Anning dart, thinking that it has been many days since I saw Fanwu. Then Anning remembers the first time she met Fanwu. He accidentally left his card in Aang's pocket. Then after some time, we see Anning going to Fanwu's house to give him medicine. As soon as Anning enters Fanwu's house, She is completely shocked to see him shirtless in front of her. Here Fanwu was also completely shocked to suddenly see Anning in front of him and asked Anning, "What are you doing here?" Aang gets nervous and covers her eyes and tells Fanwu that she has come here to give him medicine. Then Arning comes to Fanwu and starts applying medicine to him. Then Fanwu says to Arning, "Did you tell the truth that day that you like me?" Then Aang says, "I told the truth that day." After hearing this, Fanwu turns towards Arning and tells him that I told you that day that you should stay away from me. Then Arning comes close to Fanwu and suddenly kisses him. All this happens so quickly that Fanwu is unable to think anything and gets completely lost in Arning for some time. Arning then moves away from Fanwu, and Fanwu tries hard to hide his feelings. Then Arning tells Fanwu that no matter what anyone says about you, for me you will always be a good person. Etebati 10. Then Anning tries to get close to Fanwu again. But then Fanwu stops him and shows him his finger. But Arning tells Fanwu that if you push me away from you, I will cry. Fanwu then tells Aang that such threats don't work on him. But then Aang Fanwu interrupts his conversation, comes close to him and hugs him. Then Aang smiles and hugs Fanwu and tells him that I know you will not push me. Fanwu then thinks that if Anning continues to behave like this, my heart will burst out of my chest. How do I stop myself? This way I will go crazy very quickly. At that moment, Fanwu's love for Anning was clearly visible on his face. But still he is unable to say anything to Anning. Then Aang moves away from Fanwu and holding his face in her hands, turns it towards her and says to him, I want to be with you. Then Fanwu thinks to himself, until I finish Luhan's game, I have to keep Anning away from me. Luhan then pulls away from Arning. Seeing this, Arning says to him, why do you always try to stay away from me? Then Luhan deliberately says to Arning, if you want, I can spend the night with you. But I don't have the same feelings as you have in your heart. Okay? Then Luhan comes closer to Anning and holds her waist with his hands, pulling her closer to him and says, so are you ready then? After hearing this, Anning's heart breaks into 1,000 pieces. Her eyes fill with tears and she pushes Fanwu away from herself and slaps him. Then Anning takes her belongings and leaves angrily. After Anning leaves, Fanwu's eyes also fill with sadness, thinking he would have to wait longer to make Anning his own. Then the scene shifts, and after a few days we see Anning coming to a new city as her internship is over, and now she has been transferred to a hospital in a big city. But even after coming to the new city, she is only thinking about Fanwu because Anning was an orphan, and Fanwu was like a ray of light in her dark life. He took so much care of Anning that Anning became used to him. She remembers every moment she spent with Fanwu. Anning's eyes become moist. At that moment, her sadness was clearly visible on her face, and she started crying bitterly. Then the scene shifts, and we see the next day. It was nighttime, and Anning was going to her home. Then he sees some people in front of him whom he had seen earlier with Bai. Aang immediately goes to them and asks about Bai, so that she can not know more about Fanwu. And even today, Fanwu was watching Aang from a distance, hiding in the dark. Fanwu sees Anning with those people and thinks to himself, you should stay away from them. Then they tell Aang that they have not seen Bai for a long time. Then giving an apple to the people of Bai, she says that today is Christmas, hence this is a small gift from me, and leaves from there. After Aang leaves, Fanwu blocks Bai's person and speaks angrily to him. It seems you don't feel like staying here. Ms. She doesn't understand anything, and Fanwu comes to Shi and in jealousy, forcibly takes the apple that Arning had given him from his hands. Shi just stares and thinks to himself after Fanwu leaves, I don't know what I did. The scene then shifts, and the next day we see Aang opening the door and seeing Fanwu in front of her. Suddenly, seeing Fanwu in front of her, a different glow appears on Anning's face. Fanwu's anger was clearly visible on his face. and he told Arning that you should not talk to people like this at night. Then Aning asks Fanwu in surprise, how do you know about this? Is he yours? Then Fanwu does not respond to Aning's words and comes to her house. Isher Benner Hinji's word. Then Arning also comes to Fanwu and turning him towards herself, asks him, are you worried about me? Uh, Now Fanwu is unable to control his feelings any longer and suddenly comes close to Aning and kisses her. At that moment, Aning's heart beats faster after seeing Fanwu so close to her. Then Fanwu says to Aang, I am sorry, but now I can't control my feelings anymore. After hearing this from Fanwu, Aning also smiles and comes close to Fanwu and kisses him. Then Aang realizes that Fanwu was hurt, and she tells him your wands. But then Fanwu interrupts Anagan and says, my ribs were injured, but my back is absolutely fine. And Candice. After hearing this, Ainan's face turns red with shame. Fanwu then kisses her and pushes her towards the bed, and they both spend the night together. Then the scene shifts, and the next morning we see Aning sleeping in Fanwu's lap and Fanwu caressing Aning with his hands as she sleeps. Fanwu thinks to himself as he sees Aning sleeping in his lap. Please forgive me. I took time to come to you the day I saw you for the first time. I started loving you since then. After some time, Aning also opens her eyes and sees Fanwu sitting in front of her. Aang tells him that you did not sleep last night. Fanwu tells her that you were sleeping so deeply. That's why I didn't want to disturb your sleep. After hearing this, Aning's face turns red with embarrassment, and she looks at Fanwu and starts smiling. Then Aning says to Fanwu, why don't you invite Bai to dinner tonight? He is very concerned about you, because after you left, he helped me a lot in this new city. Then Fanwu tells Aning that, to be honest, I know everything because I did not leave you alone even for a moment. After hearing this, Aning is completely shocked and says to Fanwu, does this mean that day when I felt someone was following me? Were you there? Fanwu then caresses Aning's hair and gives her a yes. Then Aang smiles and says to Fanwu, you shouldn't tease me like this, and walks away. The scene then shifts, and in the evening we see Fanwu sitting on his terrace with Anying. Then Aang tells Fanwu, I used to live in another fun age where I had an older brother. When I saw you that day, I felt like Ansh was back in my life, and I think that's why I started liking you and wanted to get closer to you. But when you told me you wanted to kiss me, I really wanted to know. How would you feel if I kissed you? That's why I really wanted to kiss you. Fanwu then tells Aang that he never wanted to hide his feelings from her. I was searching for you for the last years. Then Aang Fanwu rests her head on his shoulders and asks him, why did you want to find me? Because I lost you years ago. Aning is completely shocked after hearing this name from Anan Fanwu, because only Ansh used to call him by this name. Aning's eyes become moist. Then Fanwu says to Aning, I just want to eat 3 meals a day with you and see all 4 seasons. After hearing this from Fanwu, a different smile appears on Aang's face. But then suddenly, the maid comes there. Then, testing by Fanwu, he says to him, maybe I came at the wrong time. Then Fanwu says, what are you doing here? Then he gives flowers to Bai Aang and says, I have come here to meet my sister-in-law. Aang also starts smiling, and the scene shifts. And at night, we see that after Bai leaves, Aang comes close to Fanwu and holding his hand says to him, so what else have you hidden from me? Explain it all to me. Then Aning comes close to Fanwu and whispers in his ear, otherwise I will not let you sleep on the bed today. Then Fanwu walks towards Aning, holds her hands and says to her, since you left the hospital that day, I have always been in front of you. I used to secretly watch you from my window every day. When you used to open the door of your hospital, and when you used to go home after finishing your work. After finishing my work in Rongchong, I would always sneak around at night to follow you until you got home. I used to follow you without telling you. After hearing this, Aning jumps with joy and comes close to Fanwu, holds his shoulders with her hands, and talks to him. So this means that you have loved me for a long time. Then Fanwu grabbed Anning's waist and pulled her closer, saying, I'm sorry, I said so many things to you. Then Anning teases Fanwu and says, then you should be punished. Then Fanwu says, what kind? Then Aang says, let me think about it a bit. But then a strange smile appears on Fanwu's face, and he suddenly picks up Anning in his lap and takes her from there to her bed, and they both spend the night together. Then the scene shifts, and after a few days we see Anning coming to her house on her bike, and Fanwu is eagerly waiting for Anning at the door. Seeing Fanwu, Anning runs towards him and catches him. Here, seeing Aang in front of him, a smile appears on Fanwu's face, and while giving the flower to Aang, he says, do you like this? Then Aang smiles, and without looking at those flowers, answers Fanwu in the affirmative, and Fanwu says, this flower. Then Aang says, I like you. Then Fanwu takes Anning's hand and takes her inside with him. Then after some time we see Fanwu confessing his love to Anning. We prefer fawning. After hearing this, Anning also cannot control her feelings and comes close to Fanwu and suddenly hugs him. At that moment, Anning's happiness was clearly visible on her face, and she answered Fanwu in the affirmative. Then Fanwu comes to Anning and holds Anning's waist with his hands and pulls her closer to himself and kisses Anning, and with this, the drama has a happy ending. If you like this drama explanation, then please subscribe to my channel, and yes, do not forget to click on the bell icon so that you do not miss such interesting dramas, and do tell me by commenting how you liked this story. With that, I'll leave and see you next drama explanation.